Where are you? Of course.
Just in case.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. We've got a really good turnout today. Congratulations on all of you are getting through the gates. We passed the first test. Yeah, they've changed the arrangement. You know that you need the QR code. That works. You can't be.
It should be in your hands. So, we don't have we're not going to be, we'll help you, but
Okay. So my name's Rory. I'm one of the organizers. This is really one where we've tied up with Global Azure. So it is all over the world. Presentations. So this is the presentation on today, and I was running the online one on today. So we are the only people in New Zealand that are doing anything. Just some housekeeping, and then I'll let today over to. So, welcome. First off, we've got Azure Landing Zones, Tailoring the Cloud, Enterprise Excellence, Intikhab. After that, we've got Azure App Service networking features for developers with Jalaya. Magic App standard developer updates with Wagner, works for Microsoft. And you're here to talk to us about. The feature that you will enjoy is actually sponsored by Arinco. Thank you very much to Arinco. Arinco are the award-winning partner of the year in 2023. And they're also a member of the CO Force 50. Thank you very much to Arinco. We have a code of conduct. Basically, it means be kind, be inclusive. We're in this building. The coffee there. Some of you have tried the coffee. Stayed. That's out this door to the right, women and ladies. Into the go down the stairs on the left-hand side because it's where you. If I finish this, I just like to ask myself to come and talk a little bit about Saturday. Few more slides.
Oh, welcome. Thanks for coming. And today we have like the in-person sessions, and on Saturday we're going to have 7 online sessions. So I invite you guys to attend them. We're going to have like sessions about AI, development track, DevOps. So it's going to be comprehensive, like different areas, specifically here for the Auckland or New Zealand team. I invite you to check the website from the existing meetup, like the Aotearoa Azure meetup. We have a link to the online sessions. So just check that. I'm going to also put like a comment so people can just simply go to the meetup and have the link. We're going to be streaming online on YouTube and also on LinkedIn. So yeah, you guys have options. Yeah.
I think your website you've got.
GlobalAzure.net website is the global website.
Yeah.
It contains all the sessions, not only from New Zealand, but globally, right? So there are like hundreds of sessions. If you are not available on Saturday, you can check like between today to Saturday, we're going to have global sessions happening 24 hours, really. So.
Thank you, Marcel. So we're always looking for speakers. So if you'd like to be a speaker at one of our forthcoming events, short link, or you can scan the barcode. There's a little form that you can fill in, and we'd love to hear from all of you. Also, would like some feedback about how we're doing, things that we can improve. Link there and another barcode. And that's me. So for the main event, I'll hand over to our speakers.
People online are able to Well, we start first showing my biceps. Starting with, my name is Intikhab Alam, and I'm representing Provoke here. I'm going to start today's session with the Azure Landing Zones. During my session, I will welcome all the questions if you have, so feel free to jump in. This sessions, there are a few things I would like to share with you and to take as in that what is actually the Azure Landing Zone. Then second thing is this, that why it is required in this time of, and you can find it and how you can deploy it. So these are the things which we learned during our course of implementation to the enterprise and small companies. Okay. Here, I got opportunity to work one of the biggest and largest companies like Airbus, CMA, CGM, startups also like BoardPro. This is a New Zealand-based startup, or Telstra, and currently I'm working in Provoke as a cloud architect. From that, I write on the LinkedIn, email, hashtag, not like as many as Luke, but got few articles there and like 40,000 views. Apart from that, okay, I contribute on GitHub, and from the subcontinent, I'm a good cricket player. This is the agenda for today's meeting. Okay. Apart from the learning things which we share, the second step would be that the challenges you could face during the implementation of the Azure, and then what or where Microsoft help you with the accelerators, and what could be the deployment requirements as based on the enterprise level companies or the small businesses. Share some project insights and then precautions towards the Azure landing zones. And we will do a few demos, which starts from the blueprints, and then we go for the bicep, the all ones. So we start the cloud journey. Even if a small company or a big, there are a few challenges people face. Regardless of this big list, there are four major challenges. This actually makes any project successful or a failure. So today's focus would be also on there, that how you can cope these challenges without becoming too technical. So there, if you see there, these are the different domains. There are things from the security related. There are things from the management, the compliance. But here comes the Microsoft, which gives us a set of guidelines in terms of the Azure Landing Zone, which are actually the best practices, guidelines, and few essential resources required to have a well-architectured and standardized environment for any project. If you see in this points, the four major challenges every cloud project have, somehow is being covered here. So it passes the operation management, also which goes to the monitoring. So all the budget and other things can be done there. It goes to the security compliance components, which actually helps you to pass any auditing stuff. It goes from the identity access management, like who is going to have access. So actually there's a big long list. You do not need to go to all these things and to master or spend a lot of time in start. Instead of that, going through that one, we have a kind of a shortcut which is called comes as an Azure Landing Zone. Then it gives you some kind of the networking of components also, and then the resource hierarchies. Let me explain you an example. Okay, so if you think about making a building or having a new city, that has few things. So before planning it, you have to have a roadworks or a foundation. Actually, that thing's covered with the platform level of your landing zone, which is actually giving you a framework which has the right level of the policies, right level of the access, and right level of the components. These comes with the platform level. So once you have this foundation ready, So either you are going to have apartments or new homes in that city or that building. That comes as an application level landing zones. In the example, you can see that when you deploy a platform level landing zone, it gives you over the source groups. It gives you policies, networking components. And when you go towards the application, then it becomes more centric what you are going to have in the project. Let's say a project needs to implement the Azure Kubernetes, then there is the application level landing zone for the Kubernetes. Say you want to have an API manager, then we have the similar thing available for the API manager. If you see about this one, it evolves from the first steps, what are the requirements, and it leaves you till the successful point. It comes towards the point when you are thinking about a new project, enterprise level or a small one, okay, that what are the first steps? Microsoft recently introduced the accelerators. Okay, so this is a website where you can go and how estimate at what level you are. Let's say I'm going to start a project with a big organizations. I will have a components which are going to ask some questions related to implementation. And at the end, it is going to tell you what's your current situation and how many resources are going to be required for the successfulness of that project. That comes always handy from Microsoft. I open it. Presentation, I have done one small level. And click on the link to open this accelerator. See, there are popular assessments out there. You can go up as per your requirement and assess your project before even spending a penny on it. You are not going to do anything. It's your learning stuff only, and you are going doing the requirement management for a successful implementation. I've done one smaller one just for the session. This one. Here comes to the few points, which the left side, these are the questions. The list of the questions for that organization which you are thinking to move to the cloud. So these questions are going from all nitty-gritty to the higher level. How many subscriptions you are going to have, how many components you are going to have, how many departments are going to have. Is there something online and offline? Is there something decommissioned kind of stuff? So all these things go through these kind of stuff.
Something that you'd be throwing at the customer, or something that's helping the BA with?
So it starts with the first journey of the requirement gathering. It goes hand in hand. CA has to ask or assess the customer at what level they are. So it's like, let's say we are the customer. Okay, you are going to start with, we want to move this on premises to the cloud, and we have a SQL server. We want to migrate it.
So it's deeper information than a customer would read.
Yes. So then I will be able to tell you that I have a SQL server, I have some other servers and machines. I'm going to have an identity. I'm going to have the Azure Active Directory. Yes. So you fill all this one, like the last one, and once you complete it, it's going to give you a graphical implementation of what is your status. You see this one, because this is only for the identity management, there are like 9 sectors. Out of that one, my score is at 55, a moderate level, just barely passed kind of stuff. They are indicators, what it is checking. Out of 9, 4 are at a critical situation, 4 are moderate, and one is an excellent situation. So it's not only this one, you can export this to the CSV, have compile it as per your requirement, share with your customer only the information you want to share. No need to have everything with them. But actually, if you just try to understand how big burden has been reduced. So instead of booking customer, getting the requirements, here you already have a list of requirements, list of questions. And then you are prepared before going to the customer anything.
Go back one step and actually show how that was initially created. I saw you had the ticks. What happened before that?
Yes. So I will show you this. If
Yeah, so what's the step before that?
yeah, I'm going to show you. This is, if you go to the browse, there's a link provided to you.
Right.
So all this have this accelerators. So you can click on any one. Let's say it's a for the Azure Virtual Desktop implementation. You click on it, it has a questions only related to that module. If you go towards the AI journey, okay, the retail adoptions. So these are predefined by the Microsoft. That's why we start saying it. It's a set of best practices by the Microsoft, which help us, because we partner work with the Microsoft and they get the gathering information from us and come up with the things which are useful for any newcomer.
There an enterprise architecture set of questions? An EA?
Say that there are plenty of things. I think it's 50 or 55. Okay.
Yeah,
It's a well-architectured VMware desktop.
Some of them.
It's a well-architectured review also.
I'm sure you'll be able to configure it, save it as a group.
I'll have a look at that. Interesting.
I was not aware of that.
Secret zone.
We're here.
No.
I was explaining to you. So this here is only report. But when we come to the results, that's the magic where.
Yeah.
If let's say you see the show more, it is going to take you the documentation. Not only telling you that this is the question, that this is the answer we expected. It is going to tell you the steps by step. If you go on it, that
Have you ever used Sure Step in days gone by?
yeah,
Because this is exactly what it is, but it's the online version. Sure Step was a program for CRM initially, and you started rolling it out and it kind of disappeared. Now it's been reinvented and this is
Yeah.
exactly what's happening.
so all the Microsoft Learn documentation is linked with it. So every question is going to give you that how you can learn it and implement it. It's not only like once you get the information, now you need to go and Udemy and other things. These are the already well-established documentation is there for all the implementation. So the first thing, as I mentioned, that before even thinking of a project, the first thing is this to get ready for it and assess that project. Is it viable? What kind of the steps you would expect? Is it that bumpy road, or is it how to make it in one? So after that, there's one more thing which I want to emphasize. Sometimes when we think about the cloud, we just think, okay, it's like PSGO kind of stuff. Go and have the things and can start rolling it out. But it's not the case. Even for the cloud, we have to have these sessions of the requirement gathering. We have to have a proper documentation. Okay. And we get all this stuff, the requirement gathering for our project and the having the architecture and documentation. Okay. Then we will be able to have answers of common questions. To give you example that there are mostly in the companies in New Zealand, they have a data, because Microsoft has a data center in the Australia, so they use the Australian data center. Okay, and that's the region where we deploy it. Okay, and then that's the kind of the things you are going to learn from this section, that asking the customer the question, okay, where you want the data? Is it you required it? Is it okay to go outside, or we need, or we have some kind of the requirements to stay in country? Kind of the things are going to come with this, which regions are allowed. Second things come, as we said, the budget, the costing is one of the problem. Well, before starting it, okay, what infrastructure you are going to allow there. Do you need the Azure front door there or not? Do you need API manager or not? Or web apps are going to be there, Azure functions are going to be there. So these kind of things, just try to understand when you go to the customer with this all list upfront, okay, and how the face will the facelift will going to happen it. Yes, that you are come fully prepared, and that's not only for the satisfying the customer, that's also doing your half of the job, because these are the things you are going to do in the Azure Landing Zone. And things comes, let's say you define that we are going to have a specific type of virtual machine, and somebody is trying to create a different SKU, it will not allow you. But there comes a point where requirements comes from the client side. We need some higher, bigger virtual machine, okay, or the APIM. And you go through the proper change manual process that every party knows, okay, how this cost is going to affect. And next month is going to be increase in the cost, okay, or decrease in the cost. So these are the things which are going to help you a lot upfront so that the project can be as successful. We have seen many things where many customers comes to us with a half-cooked solutions, because if things has been started with the things, okay, yeah, we have a pay as you go,
Cowboy.
but the cloud have one problem is, except when you start it, it's not easy to get out of it, because then you need the expertise to extract the information or data from the cloud and going to the server based and other things. Even now, because uh, everyone is going to cloud, we are having a decrease in the capacity of having a people who knows the servers or the on-premises implementation. That's the things actually we are going to help you on your journey. We're going to share some of our presentations and what steps on a different side instead of going. So although I'm sharing with you the information which are here, like do all these steps, but even when over the course of many years, we had the different projects and we have the different clients, and then we comes up the different requirements. So somehow we learned the things to make it much better. Provoke, okay, we have multiple small and medium companies. So we were struggling with it, okay, that every company has a similar kind of the infrastructure, but we need a learning curve for every cloud engineer to learn the new project kind of stuff. But then when we moved to our landing zone implementation, we got a template which actually fixed the multiple clients at the same time. We have a budgets and alerts, okay, which is the first of the most common questions from the client. Okay, this is expected cost and what is going to be actual cost. We can easily bound it down to the budget. So as soon as it goes to 75% or 80% of the budgets, we have alerts. There's no need to have that task every time. It's like you do it once and then it goes quickly. It's a big problem for the cloud engineers like us that we have a less work at that time. After that, it gives us the better governance, easy audit. Okay, we have implemented for the Novacina, that's a pharmaceutical company. Okay, so that's the Azure bicep-based landing zone, the pipelines. Okay, we have the same budgets and alerts. Okay, we have customized the policies, but we got issues. So what were the issues? And you go for the landing zone, first of all, never go to the deployment of a vanilla implementation. Like you got downloaded it and deployed it. Okay. So I have done that one, and there's a thing called the DDoS protection, network DDoS protection. And that is 4,600 New Zealand dollar per month. Okay. And with the first implementation, I just deployed it, it enabled, okay, and we got the cost. The only good thing was, okay, that being a Microsoft partner, we somehow got a big chunk back, but that was a big shock in start. Yes, $4,600, you are getting it without any doing. So that's the things that's the issues. There's another thing which is called the Azure Defender, which is now very much in use. Okay, so there's a cost for the Defender for everything. So one of the thing is called the storage account. So that is $10 per month. Okay, having the enablement of the storage account. But we got more than 6,000 for the same one. Why? Because there's a small line that the transaction or that storage account, if it increase the 76 million, it will start charging you. And we are having for that company 2 billion transactions every month. So it's like these are the things which you learn. This also gives you the thing that when you are start deploying something, you have to be ready before it comes back and bite you. Try to have this kind of a tech burden. Okay, we will. Cloud is something where you have to be very sure when you are starting it. Okay. It's not like you are buying a laptop. Okay, then we can have it, and it's a real terms. Okay, so it has a consequences for all the implementation. And that SA is a New Zealand Seed Association, one of our project. Okay, so we got towards the audit by the government. Okay, and then we come to find that we have to have a NZISM compliant. Easiest way was to have a landing zone. Then the policy, set of policy or initiative can be part of it. That's the things you will only know when you go through 1 or 2 or 3 implementations. Otherwise, what you will do, and that ISM has a 165 controls. You will start learning 165 controls and they have implementation. That controls are not going to tell you what are the requirements in the infrastructure side. It's just going to tell you a big documentation of 1,000 pages. Okay, to go through this, okay, one control is there, and that language is governmental language where it comes, okay, that there's a references to these 5.6.2 and 3. But these kind of the things you can easily avoid if you go from the assessment point and have all the questions and answers thing. Starts for the demos. Okay, as I start in the start, there's an application level landing zone and there's a platform level landing zone. So whenever you start deploying it, then you start on this side. So you have a subscriptions. Okay, you create the subscriptions, and then either the bicep module or the Terraform module or the portal accelerator, you use it to deploy the landing zone. It comes to this part, which is quite interesting, that this one is just getting a ground ready. We are starting a new city, so it's just making a roads and sewerage work and all this stuff, but there's nothing else. And need to make an houses on it. The similar way, then you deploy the AKS accelerator or you have the APIM or Kubernetes or SAP. It's like there are things which are already been done by the Microsoft people. Okay, there are things which are already been discovered, and you just have to have that module with that caution that you understand that module. Once you deploy it, we'll show you here that it needs a more comprehensive knowledge to undo that thing. We will start with the blueprint one. Now, the blueprint is the initial thing. So in let's say that it's a 1960 model car. So when it comes in the Microsoft start going the road towards this landing zone, that's the first thing which we come. Okay, and there are 2 parts which we need to do it. I started with the blueprint because that's the easiest to understand. It doesn't have that big level of the costing involved, but it gives you the perfect opportunity to learn it, okay, to excel it, and then you can easily convert that knowledge towards the bicep or Terraform or any other thing. We have 2, which is called foundation and migration landing zones. How it goes, you have to go to the Azure blueprint and create that blueprints, and then you assign it to the subscriptions. This is the where you go for the all the blueprints. Mention that we have two blueprints, which is the foundation and the migration one. The foundation prepares all the policies and the basic infrastructure, and the migrations gives you the things where you can migrate it from the on-premises to the cloud. Once you create, it comes as these kind of the definition. So we have a first definition, which is called the foundation one. So these are the all individual components that are going to be implemented with this one. Click on assign. Ask you first to select the subscriptions. You want to deploy the resources. And what's the name? It creates the system identity. Here you are going to have that system identity. We are in Australia. We're going to use Australia East. You can have a multiple versions of the blueprint. It comes to the same point. If you remember, we said assessment gives you the common question answers. What regions are allowed for that company or its project, which we are going to select here. We'll select all the Australia. I'll explain you why you're selecting. What's the name? Because we are Global Azure 2024. Region we are going to deploy currently our components. Now it's a time to fill this requirements. I was explaining before you, okay, that this is allowing to you that what are the region the SKUs you are going for the storage account. When you need the applications, let's try to do this one also. Okay. What SKUs, if we are going to create a VM, what SKUs? Currently three, we are going to have only one. So that it's easier to test. So if you enter the tag, it is going to be applied to the all the components which you are going to create. This question is quite important because there's a requirement of selecting at least one type of components which are not allowed. If you do not select this one, it will fail. And say the classic storage. Because the initial component which I'm going to deploy involves the key vault also. Here it is asking at least one user or a group which can access that key vault. If we are not entering this one correctly, it will fail again. So for this one, I already have a We select about this, how many days of the logs we required. We assign it. The things which we learned before, we just enter it and then we assign it. Once it is signed, it start deploying it. Okay, it will change. Change. So as we come here, so it will come to the assignment. Assignment and it is state is waiting. Okay. Similar way, it is going to, we can deploy the migration one also. We will come back to this. Okay, because the best thing is this, it is going to cost, I think $8 to $10 per month. But if you go through this one, it gives you all the knowledge which is required to understand the landing zone at the enterprise level. Then, means as I said, that we deploy the blueprints. Okay, it takes some time. Since it's deployed the both one, then your organization is going to be at the level of governance and management. Okay, and once it's complete, to uninstall it. For the uninstallation, you have to unassign this, how the same way we assign it. Then you need to delete all the resources. And then you, before that one, delete the logs, resources, and subscopes, and the policies. Apart from that, I have a script on my GitHub repo, which you can use to delete all the stuff. You have to enter some parameters for this one, for your subscription, other things. Now, this is another problem comes here, that Microsoft is now phasing out the blueprints. Before they phase it out, if you want to expert in the landing zone, you should try it. Okay. I believe that everyone have this $200 free subscriptions, can be easily gathered from the Microsoft. Try it, okay, and then have this implementation with your stuff. The other thing which I want to share now quickly, if you go through the Azure accelerator one, okay, you need to have a very high level privileges to your user, because it is handling the management group and subscriptions. So you need at a slash level, at the root level, that writes. And these are the commands which I got from the Luke's one of the article. Okay, so these are the quite handy. You just use it. In this one is getting your UPI of your user, and then just giving the assignments at the root level. The predefined solution. The Novacina, we use this, the bicep based with the CI/CD. Has customized modules. Okay, we can add new modules also apart from what we have there, but there are some things which you need to consider, that these bicep or Terraform one, these are very comprehensive. It's an enterprise level with like multiple subscriptions, multiple departments, and then you need to go and understand it. So there are many modules, okay, which you go, and it's a kind of a complex one, and it's a large number of policies goes with that. Said in the start, okay, the intention was to share with you, okay, that what are the landing zones, okay, why it is required, you can find it out, and then how you deploy it. This is the QR code, which I said to a Git repo, which has all the links which I used here, all this documentation for the Azure Landing Zone. And this is the QR code for my repo, which has the deletion script. I just want to see that information which you started goes.
Oh, could you go back to the?
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Question.
Yeah.
How we going to handle a brownfield environment?
As I mentioned, that we go with the component levels. Brownfield means you already have something.
Yes.
And so it means that you have a subscription, you have some of the components, okay. But policies, and then some of the next level components, these are going to be created with the platform, but you don't need it. You have this application level platform landing zones. We have an application level for the policies also. Just deploy that component, and then it gives you the same flexibility. Have to be having understanding that when you are deploying it, is there any conflict going to happen? So let's say I have a brownfield one which already have multiple regions. When I deploy the application level, I select only one region. So all the policies will automatically be non-compliant. That non-compliant means you need to work it. So the exemptions, or you need to disable that. So these kind of things which you will learn when you are doing the requirement phase. Requirements and documentation kind of stuff is really important.
We'll have time for questions at the end of
And yeah,
questions.
thanks, Intikhab.
Thanks, Intikhab.
Awesome to take in.
Some great secrets here.
Yeah, that's a little. Okay, so next up, we've got July. July is an MVP in space. Interesting stuff.
Thanks for coming in. My name is Charlie and I'm a MVP developer in technology. So my expertise is in .NET, but still, I mean, as developers, most of the time we are working with Azure. In this session, what we're going to go with, going to learn is working features in Azure App Services that I mean, find it useful in our everyday scenarios. Now, I don't have a PowerPoint slide, but hope you don't mind. So this is, I mean, basically our classic production environment. We have API, some app service and app service B. And for an example, in this case, I'm using a PaaS service, which storage account. It is inside Azure. Internet users, they can directly access storage account. They can directly access API B. They can directly access API A. I mean, I have seen these kind of environments running in production, but that's not the ideal way to go forward. So, and let's see how we can from here to something like this. So here we have VNets, and our APIs are integrated into VNets. Then we do have some private endpoints. I mean, a private endpoint. So basically, internet users cannot only access API B, and they are not able to access API A, and they are not able to access storage account, but storage account is accessible internally from API A and API B. That's our kind of like target after this session. So, and I do have some couple of tabs open. Let me know if you want me to zoom this out. See? Is good enough, I guess. And it can't. Just let me know so I can. Yeah, yes, cool. Thank you. Coming here, I have up some infrastructure. So I have two resource groups, and I have given it a name. One is in East US, and that's where our API A is going to be with the VNet A, and that's where our storage account is going to be. And I do have another resource group QS, and it has an API B and the VNet B. And in these VNets, I have created, in VNet A, I have created 2 subnets, and VNet, I have created a single subnet. Hope you know what VNets and subnets is, which I'm not going to cover on the. So here, this particular tab is the first resource group. This is the second resource group, and then I have the network pane in. Okay. This one is tab B. I'm using SSH. I need to do kind of like. I do need to make some SSH. I mean, sorry, requests. I do have the SSH window open. It's for the app A. It's for the app B. And then I do have my APIs running. So this one is the app A. Is the app B. When you see this white screen, that means it's good. It's not good. I mean, it's not giving us any errors. It's communicating with the blob service. So here I'm calling a point called blobs. It's a web API, so it's returning some data. Unfortunately, I don't have any blobs. So blank means I'm able to connect to the blob storage. Now let's see. Now the first step is okay. Now I'm in my local machine, so obviously I'm hitting these endpoints publicly, which is working fine. And now let's go to the storage. Let's go to storage account. First thing I'm going to do is, as I said before, I do have 2 VNets, right? I'm going to get this storage account into my VNet using a thing called private endpoint. So what basically private endpoint does is bringing in the service into your network. So the traffic stays within your network. It's not going out. It's not the case with something like service endpoint. So here I'm going to the network tab. You can see no restrictions at all. It's enabled from all around. And as long as you know the connection string and access key, basically you can this one. So here I'm going to go to this tab. Here I have already added a private endpoint because it's going to take some time, but I will walk you through on how we can add a private endpoint. I'm clicking on this one. Need to select the subscription and the resource group. Usually I like to. Just go here. I mean, so it's PE. It's the name for the private endpoint, and it's going to create a network interface. And the region that we are going to deploy our private endpoint is in. So if you come back here, close this one out. It's more nice. So it is in East US. I'm going to select East US. Going to the next one. So storage account has different sub-resources. As you might know, it has blob, it has table, etc. But in this case, for the demo, I'm only interested about blobs. That's what I'm reading. I'm selecting blobs. Next, based on the region that I have selected, it's listing up all the virtual networks. So in this case, I have only one. Then subnet that where the private endpoint should get created in. The default one I left as is. I have created the separate net for private endpoints, so I'm selecting that one. Dynamically allocate IP address is fine. Going to the next. And here, this is one important step to note. So we need to select, I mean, most of the time we need to select integrate with private DNS on. That is, again, a local domain domain name service, that is only available within your virtual networks, which is connected to. Otherwise, you can manage your own domain services, but which is kind of like a separate project of its own, but go with this part. And then tags, I don't care, and then review and create. So once that is created, you're going to see something like this. And before that, so let's just make sure, I forgot one step. So let's just go ahead and NS lookup our blob service and see what it solves. So this is my app A. If you can see, we go from app B. Okay. We have created a private endpoint for the storage accounts. So it sits there in our virtual network. From my app A, this is the app A. So I'm on the network tab. So here we have two sites, inbound traffic configuration and an outbound traffic configuration, which is kind of like makes sense. I mean, name says what it does. Outbound traffic is where we are controlling how the traffic goes out from our app service. Inbound is the opposite, how traffic goes into our app service. In this case, I want to communicate with storage account, the VNet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to integrate my app service into the VNet. So I can click on virtual network integration. And then based on the region, I'm on app is on East US1. I have dedicated another subnet for web apps. So I'm going to place my app inside that. What's going to happen is inbound traffic is going to come from all around the world. Outbound traffic is going to go via the VNet. I'm going to do connect. It should be fast. Yeah. And now let's go back to the SSH console in our app A. Likely going to start. I mean, this is a containerized app, so it's going to spin up a new instance. Just refresh and see. And I'll do couple again. Then if we hit enter, what's the expectation? Will it resolve the public IP? My expectation is it should return the internal IP because now both the services are in the same VNet. So I'm communicating with another service in the same VNet. It should resolve the internal IP. Let's see. It's not. Make sure we connected the correct one. I'm on app A. Take some time, but now this one is resolving an internal IP. But if you go to the other one, made any change, solving the public IP, right? So technically, now I think you will actually, if I make this one disabled, so app A will be able to connect to the storage account, but app B will not be because disabling public access now. So let's save that one out. Go to my API endpoint, and just refresh. Disable public access, which is fine. Let's give it some time. These things happens with the demos. You should.
Did you pay for the demo code today? Did you pay for the demo?
I was going to, but I forgot that one.
Should have made a cash donation.
I haven't deployed these many landing zone for client. I deployed for this.
So now it works. Fun. Didn't. So now how do we get this one access to our storage account? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this, which is our app B, which is this one, into another VNet, and this one is in West US. I'm going to integrate it into a VNet that I have already created because I'm selecting the West US, and I'm selecting the dedicated subnet for web apps. I'm clicking on.
Communication between those apps.
As of now, only app A is accessing internally, but app B is on public. So what I'm trying to do now is make the app B access the storage account again privately. So it's integrated to our net, which is West US. So now we have two VNets. One is in West US. The other one is in East US. But still, we don't have a connectivity, right, between these two VNets. In order to connect those, I'm going to because I want to connect from West US to East US. I'm going to the West US VNet, and I'm going to peer them up. Basically, so there's so this is global virtual network peering, that is peering virtual networks across regions, but you can, of course, peer virtual networks within the region as well. We need to find the menu item peering. And here I have created the peer already, but let's get one, but I haven't connected it. So because I haven't connected it. Yeah, it's connected, yes. So, but I'll follow you the steps. So you need to give it a name. So the name is basically from West US to EUS. And here we can say allow VNet to access the whatever the VNet that I'm peering with. There are some other options that is like forwarded traffic, that is traffic originated from not with the VNet from some other source. Should I forward those traffic to that? Something like that. So there are some different options which you can explore yourself, of course. And then you need to select what is the network I'm peering with. In this case, I'm on VNet West US. I need to peer it with East US. And this is from the reverse side, US to West US. So this is already peered, but this is how you can basically add a peering. I'll just go back here. Just enable this one, that is allow VNet demo West US to access this one. Good. Now have a look at this one. Our VNet B is integrated, app B is integrated to VNet B, and the VNet B is paired with VNet A. So basically it's like in one big network. Now let's do NS lookup again. And this time my expectation is when I do NS lookup, it should resolve the internal IP same as this return. If this one resolved to, it should resolve the same one. Previously it was resolved in the public IP. Let's see. Now it's like communicating within the network. So the traffic is gone out. So basically storage account is fully secured. It can only be accessed via the private endpoint. And when I create a private endpoint, there are some things that got created automatically. So let's go to those. It's creating a nice network interface and the private DNS zone. So basically private DNS zone is the domain service, which is internal to Azure. I mean, in this case, internal to Azure, so whatever the other names, it's recognized. So if you go for an example, this one, private link up.co.windows.net. So here I have virtual network links. So basically, if you want this private DNS zone to be used in your virtual networks, you just need to add it. It knows, okay, for I can use DNS zone to resolve services. And other thing, important thing is I didn't change. I mean, I haven't put private link or something. So this one, if I have any app settings or something, I didn't have to change any app settings. Automatically resolving based on that DNS zone. So I think one last thing to be done. So now our communication is happening. And we have peer. We have this communicate with storage account via this line, and storage account is inside our VNet. API A, is it still publicly accessible? Yes, it is. Now let's shut it down. We can go to our app service, app A. And I'm again going to the working. I'm going to enable public access. Now the expectation is take some time. The correct setting to the correct app. I mean, now no one can use this one, but let's say I want to use that API from this app service. For that, what I can do is the same thing. Now we know the concept. I'll go here. I will add a private endpoint. I have already added a private endpoint. And now I do a curl particular endpoint. App B, will it work or will it not? The question. Yeah, it's going to work. It works because I can't access the app service demo 1 from public, but still I can access the app service from another app service which is in the same network. If I do a NS lookup on this one, and it will resolve the internal IP again for this app service. It is resolving that particular app service, internal IP. So let's just walk through. I mean, this is the ones that I wanted to show you. So I have done new public access and then NS lookup, the private endpoint. I think I have covered almost all the things. Yeah, I think that's almost it for the demo. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. I'm like, yeah.
So you went through all the demos, pretty cool. point, why we go to that extent and do all those things.
Yeah.
That's the important one, actually.
Yes. So, I mean, why not have this, right? I mean, not this, of course. Why not have this? So basically, one can do anything as long as they have access. I mean, they do have a token or something to communicate with the API and API-B, they can hit it out. And I have seen some scenarios, there are a lot of people trying SQL injection attacks because it's there. And around midnight West time, this doesn't seem to have any work. So they just send a bunch of requests. And we do have, I mean, it's of course our application code should be secured to things like SQL injection attacks and things like that. But still, we don't want we don't want to take a risk, right? But I still have customers, I mean, with customers who still have this one. So we are kind of like trying to move them to better architecture, but they don't want to spend time until their production database goes down. We're gonna wait.
Keep shooting.
That's the waiting call.
Like honey.
What's that? Yeah, so we are gonna wait till that happens.
Another scenario that is quite important is there everything is in Azure, right? So it's more security. You have a legacy database that are sitting on-prem to show that to the world, but you can connect products.
Another thing is now for an example, let's say from API A to storage account, how does the traffic flows? And from the internet, it goes via the internet, right? But if you have something like this, with virtual network peering, this is not going via the internet. This is using Microsoft network. And it's using the Microsoft backbone network. So it's secured and it's super fast. And another thing with private endpoints is you are technically bringing the service into your virtual network. So the traffic is not going out of your network. You use a service and there are things like service endpoints and things like that. You can have a look. So one of the things I very much like private endpoints is it sits within your network. It's super fast. The connectivity is super fast. And it's secure.
Also a way to sell a cloud very secure conscientious organization, because you still be able to create your applications on Azure and block the external access. So just people inside the organization, inside network is going to have access to that, but all your management is sitting on Azure. So you guarantee that you have availability zone.
Yeah.
All the resilience that comes out increasing the surface area. That is the biggest problem that people.
Okay.
I don't have just maybe you can Google me up or something. Thank you.
Now we've got Wagner. It's about updates for Logic Apps. Wagner used to be a Microsoft MVP, and now he works for Microsoft.
Yay.
So you're getting it from the horse's mouth. Yeah.
2 years ago.
Pardon?
2 years ago.
Wow. That's not nice.
Let me duplicate. Really soon we're going to hopefully going to have the hello everyone. So what you guys enjoying so far? I'm not sleepy yet because I know that everyone had pizza, so you're awake, right?
I had coffee, see.
And coffee with
No, no.
So my name is Wagner Silveira. As Rory said, I was an MVP on Azure integration. I joined Microsoft as a product manager for Logic Apps a couple of years ago. The areas that I work on Logic Apps is exactly improving developer experience and community outreach. That is pretty much like what I was want to do inside Microsoft. And how many of you know what Logic App is before we even go through that? Much? The of Logic Apps, and you're going to see that when you start to open the applications, is an application or a technology to help you to implement business processes or API orchestration in a low-code way, right? So instead, if you have something that says, when something arrives on that blob that Jalia was securing, grab that data, do some message on that, put it in another blob storage, and send an email to someone with the information. You having right code to say, how do I connect to blob 1, how to connect to blob 2, how I connect it to the email, you have connectors for that, right? And it's all good. We have like a portal experience for that, but every time that you're doing that directly in the Azure portal, it's almost like you're doing like writing in production. How do you actually get that and start in a way that you can push the source control, improve your automated CI/CD pipeline? Those are the things that I'm going to be showing some of the improvements that we have on it. Right? And any questions about Logic Apps or what we're showing, let's just stop and we can go from there.
What's the difference between the apps and a platform? Because you can do similar things in both places.
So Power Automate was created as an automation tool that is sitting really well together with the other components of the Power Platform, right? So usually the way that I'll differentiate that even before I was with the product group was I see Power Automate as an extensibility of the Power Platform in the Dynamics 365. Anything that is first party that work inside that ecosystem should be working with the Power Platform because you don't need the Azure having an extra Azure friction. But when you're starting to work with third parties, you needed to get the resilience of multiple availability zones. You started to work with all the components of Azure. That's where you usually migrate from Power Platform, from Power Automate specifically. All the other components still apply, but you migrate from Power Automate into Apps. If you have applications that start from Azure natively, or you're working with the rest of the Azure ecosystem, that's where Gap sits really well. So on the agenda, we're going to be talking about a couple of things that we have new with Logic Apps, but also is going to be helping you guys that didn't start working with that yet to have a better getting start experience. So the first one is how easy it is to onboard now compared to what it was before. So how fast you can get working inside the Studio Code with Logic Apps all of them. And how can you extend Logic Apps for those bits that they then don't have a connector? How we can go and write custom code that feels like a Logic App connector. And then when you have everything that is ready to deploy, how you can generate the templates that helps with like it's the last part of what you're talking on the landing zones, like the actual deployment inside of the infrastructure that we create. Also the pipelines to help automate, right? Talk a little bit about improvements and then Q&A. But if you have any questions in the meantime, just ask. Okay. I have 3 demos. Instead of like stopping and starting, stopping and starting, I'm going to show all the 3 demos in the last step because exactly how I open and everything is there for me, whether I create a custom code and how I generate deployment script, all of that. So let's start with the improving the onboarding with the Logic Apps. If anyone, like the people that raised the hand, when if they try to use Visual Studio Code extension in the beginning, one of the barriers that we had was Logic Apps extension was installing, it was easy to install, but all the frameworks that we needed to support that was very specific and you needed to install. So we needed to install .NET 6, even if right now is .NET 8 is already available. You needed to install a very specific version of functions runtime. you needed to install very specific versions of Node. You have to run and install that for yourself. And then your machine becomes a Logic Apps development environment. Nothing else could be done there if you're having like all that different components, right? So what we're trying to do here is making sure that all those prerequisites are installed. All those prerequisites can live together with anything else that you're doing inside your machine, right? So instead of installing on the system, we're trying to bring that to a portable binary. We control that. You don't have to worry about all of this. And the other thing that we're doing is you needed to know how the environment works you to get started, to start the designer, to start the components that help you to debug, to start the debugging, right? So we're trying to bring a lot of that early on, and the extension taking care of that, of you taking care of that. So first thing is like all that pre installation. What we're doing is, if you install Logic Apps extension, you need to know what are the other extensions in VS Code that are required. It installs for you. It goes and find out all the other 4 extensions that we need, 4 or 5, install that for you. Even more important is all the runtime and design time framework requirements, which is .NET, functions runtime, Node.js, is going to be installed, but it's going to install on your own portable binary. Inside user, Logic Apps, dependencies, it installs everything there. Doesn't matter if you're using Windows, if you're using Linux, or if you're using Mac, all of that is installed. The funny thing about that one was we knew that Mac and Linux would work really well because our group PM didn't use Windows. He used a Mac and had a spare Linux Macintosh, a spare Linux machine, and that's where he was testing the thing. If it doesn't work on my machine, it doesn't go to production at all. It went to production, so it's working on his machine. The other thing that we're doing is starting that application. So when you start start a new project, there's a little component that starts for the design time. So it shows the visual component, right, for you, like the design interface and everything. And all of that was like sitting, waiting for you to try to open the Logic Apps for the first time, to then say, I needed to start that. Instead of that, we say, you are on a Logic Apps project. We know that you're going to need that. Start that straight away. Every time that you click on F5 or you started to debug, it says, you need Azure Write. By the way, your Azure Write was not started yet. Go start it for me, please. Again, instead of that, we can get all those signals and we automated all of that, right? So it's much easier for you to not need to know all the things that happens behind for you to get started. So probably homework for everyone that is here is trying to download the Logic Apps extension and play a little bit and provide feedback for me if you like or not.
So that's kind of like having Logic Apps to run your Logic Apps to make it work.
Well, it is a little bit of automation inside of that. And the other thing that we're doing is every time that you have an update on the portal with like latest version of the runtime itself, it downloads a little bit of bundle, the same thing that function does. This was always happening when you started to run the project. So sometimes you debug a project, the project will take like 2 minutes to run, and 2 minutes in development time is like 3 coffees, right? You don't want it to wait all of that. So the other thing that you're doing is like as soon as you open the project, we know that you're using Logic Apps, so you're going to try to download that as well. Speeding all of that to make sure that you don't have blocks you're trying to develop. So we're going to show that as soon as I open, I pointed out some of the things, but so we don't stop and start, let's talk a little bit, and talk a little bit about custom code. As I said before, one of the biggest advantage of Logic Apps is exactly all those connectors that you have, right? Chances are that either you already have pieces of legacy code written in C# or something that you needed to automate as part of your project, and you wanted to reuse that, or you have a very specific scenario that, although we have a connector for that, doesn't work exactly like that for you. Now, the option for that before was, I can write that as a web API, I can write that as a function, I can try to create my own connection, and all of that, the last one would give you like a lot of work, right? The other two is feasible as well, but every time you would be, I'm on Logic Apps, then I go to go out to another resource and come back. Right? And with that, you would be adding latency, but you also adding the increasing your surface area of things that could be attacked, and you now have two resources to manage and to pay for. So the idea of the .NET Framework extension, custom code as part of the extension is now, you can write a code just like you're writing functions. Because behind the scenes, Logic Apps runs on top of other Azure functions. So if you know how to write a function, you should be able to write that code. But when you compile that and push into the Logic Apps, it's going to look for you just as a new action, ready for you to use, right? So it gives you like the best of both worlds. You can extend as much as you can inside the same environment without having to jump from environment to environment. But experience for people that is managing that at runtime, or for developers that might not be coders that are working with Logic Apps, is still the same that would have for any other connector. Now, we have that using .NET Framework. And the reason why we started with .NET Framework is exactly because one of the biggest use cases for Logic Apps is innovation or a modernization of old legacy integration applications, right? So people using methods, using Bishtalk, especially Bishtalk, Bishtalk developers or Bishtalk applications that has a lot of C# code written in .NET Framework. You should simply get that code, plug it here, it would be working. Still using the advantage of .NET Core, able to process .NET Framework for that, right? And then you'll be asking, but if I'm going to be using .NET Framework, you just swapping legacy for legacy. Do you want me to write .NET code if I'm creating a new project? We are just finishing the implementation of that same structure, but using .NET Core. So when you go and start a new project, you're going to ask, wanted to create a Logic Apps with custom code, yes or no? Yeah. Wanted to use legacy .NET Framework, or do you want to use .NET Core? .NET Core. And then with that, everything is going to be that you're going to be writing behind the scenes is going to be based on C# with .NET Core, .NET 8. Also thinking about how we bring in other apps or other languages, but right now we're starting with those two, .NET Core and .NET 8, right? And .NET 8 should be like in by the end of May, you should already be this. Some of these cases, as I said, you have a custom business logic to implement that doesn't necessarily set into a connector. It could be like a little snippet of your workflow, but if you write that in Logic Apps, you're going to be like spending time. And there are things that are easier to do in code than do visually, right? Especially when you're dealing with arrays, or if you're dealing with sorting and things around complex objects. Having the ability to do that in code, but still use that encapsulation inside Logic Apps is quite attractive to people. Some passing, data validation, mapping. In some cases where the mapping doesn't need it to be visual, is also things like that. A couple of the examples that I saw that comes directly from my time as an integration developer with banks. Encryption and decryption. I have data that needs to comes from PGP encryption, and I have to decrypt before I use it. Or I have to get this, encrypt this PGP and push back. right? Or I have a data that came as a zip file that I needed to decompress, or I have to compress that before sending. All of that is super easy to write in code, and you should be able to just inject that as part of your logic apps later on, because now we have the ability to write that code. Last topic, and I promise you that I start to show code. And in this case, literally code, but also the workflows. So you started working with logic apps, created a couple of workflows, some custom code and things like that. How I go and deploy that? I click deploy, right? It can be done, but like anyone that is at least 2 years working with that knows, friends don't let friends right-click deploy, right? So until now, until we make those changes, we have the ability to do all of that with Logic Apps, but it was a lot of manual work. The process to do this is, I have a project that you're going to my infrastructure, that is my Logic App application, is my storage, my app service plan, potentially my networking and all that kind of stuff that I needed to deploy first. And when you're talking specific about logic apps, some of those connectors are actually Azure resources as well. So another thing that I have to deploy. I have to go find out exactly how I write an ARM template or a bicep or Terraform for each one of those things and write it yourself, right, which becomes quite complex. What we're doing with this is making sure that your code from the beginning is ready for you to deploy automatically. Like I said before, when you work in the portal, a lot of these things are created to be already deployed in the portal, so feels a little bit like coding in production, right? The idea here is, especially around those connections and those things, is creating references, but abstracted enough that if you needed to automate that process, you don't have to rewrite stuff, right? So you're going to see one of the items in this connection parameterization. Then the other one is making sure that I have those deployment scripts, ARM templates, the pipelines, and even some of the parameterization components abstracted for you, so you can go and run all of that multiple times or push that to your source control, connect to your CI/CD pipelines, and run with that. And the last one is, because we don't want you to know, or you don't need to know all the multiple steps that you needed to do to build a logic app or to deploy a logic app, we created tasks, Azure DevOps tasks for each one of those, right? And we use exactly those same tasks inside the script, so you have an example how to use it. That also means that if you already have all the stuff that you did even before that, easily refactor or retrofit, because now you'll be able to create those templates, use it on your code, or getting the tasks and using on your pipelines. Quick, when you're talking about connection parameterizations, it's probably best to show than talk, but the idea here is we have a references file for those connections, and before, everything that was there was hard-coded. I had my subscription ID, my resource group, my logic app, and my connection, right? All of that was hard-coded inside the connections. Really good for me to get that right-click and deploy, but if I have to go and abstract that, inject on my source control and push to different things, I'll have to manually go and make a lot of changes. Usually we do a script for that, but even though it's an extra step. And now we're pushing the things in a way that locally still works, because it just references to parameters of local web settings. But when you deploy, you can simply go and change it super quick as variables inside your pipeline. I think that one is the biggest, right? We did that because it's a prerequisite for this, but now you have a gesture like a right click and say, get deployment scripts for this project that I have. This project has a couple of connections. So the high workflows and those many parameters. It goes and going to generate in ARM templates, right, for the managed connections and the apps and dependencies. Yep.
It will be in the ARM templates only, or it can be WhatsApp or.
Right now, just ARM, and I'll explain it why, right? But we have plans to get from the beginning with. So we created the ARM template, creating the DevOps pipelines for AZ DevOps, for Azure DevOps. You have the infrastructure, the CI, and the CD. And the reason why we started with ARM templates, if I create an ARM template today, I have the ability to right-click inside the environment as well, and that compile as Python, because we have the extension for that. An extra step, but I can give you bicep if I have ARM. Probably I wouldn't be as easy to do the opposite. And if you're using Terraform, you can still do like an ARM deploy using Terraform. So kind of using the most basic would give the people that using the other ones the ability to use as well. And later on, after we get some feedback, we go and I started to introduce those ones as native. So we don't have the intermediary steps, even though those intermediary steps right now are going to be smaller than having to write the whole thing manually. Finally, so I didn't burn any USBs, but hopefully everything is going to work. Let's start, and I'm going to be opening VS Code. I have a project that I already created, so just to speed up, because I know that we're going to have trouble with. While it's looking here, there is my Logic App standard extension, right? And this one is the private preview version. So we have all of those bits, but the onboarding stuff that I'm going to be showing to you right now is still all there. Okay. So with that, it's like if you install that, it automatically going to install all of those other. You see this? There is a showing here. So showing a little bit where the connections already parameterized, starting the design time. All of that is happening behind the scenes because it automated that process for you. And also the other thing it did was the dependency validation that I'm going to show in a minute. So we started like all of those items here are required for Logic Apps, but I didn't have to install any of that. I just needed to install the extension and install everything else. We go back to my terminal. Oh. If I go to my output, Logic Apps, like at the very beginning, it goes and try to find if I had Node.js, and it find out that Node.js is there, so it didn't go and install. It find out that I have the Core 2 binaries, the .NET SDK binary. So all of that is installed in a folder like this. User W Silveira, that's my local user. .Azure Logic Apps / dependencies. That means that my Node.js version, my Azure runtime version, and my C# .NET SDK version is specific for Logic Apps there. If you have .NET 8 running on your system, or you have the Node 20 versus Node 18 or whatever it is not going to impact Logic Apps. Also allow you to use the machine for everything, not just Logic Apps. So becomes like a nice neighbor instead of a very demanding neighbor. Okay. And as you see, like it shows that it was starting the .NET design time, which is what it did here. That means if I go and right click, open the designer comes much faster, right? Before, what was happening with this is at this time, it would go and try to run off that process. So another minute that I would be losing. Logic apps is something like this, since we're talking about. You have the ability to decide when that process is triggering and what are the actions that you can have here, right? You can add a whole lot of things. We can have like a 101 on logic apps later, just because we know where we are with the time. But since we show the onboarding, let's take a quick look at the custom code. You see that that logic app project is actually a workspace with two components. You have that functions and you have that logic apps, right? Inside functions, I actually have good old C# code. Okay. What it does is I have this netware, right? When I run, it goes and convert for Celsius to Fahrenheit or otherwise, and returns new object, right? And you can see that the object here is actually like a complex object. It's not just one thing, which I defined on my code. Here is my classware, everything that is required. What happened now is if I go open my terminal and get this code, build it, right? And it's building the function code and doing something else. When it finished building, look at my logic app, I actually have an area here called library. It was not on that library. I have a get weather and I have a definition, which is exactly the definition that we have there for what is my input, what is my output, right? What is my schema, what my schema looks like, what my output schema looks like. And this is exactly what the logic apps is going to be using for that, right? So if I go to my get weather logic app, open it, you're going to see here is when you run with an HTTP, right? And call that function, passing a zip code and temperature in Celsius. Okay? And return to me a response is everything that has on that output. So this is like how logic apps users are going to look like. It's like call a local function. And as soon as I selected this get weather, because I only have one here, it gives me those values. If I write another function and have different input and output parameter, it's going to be adding here. Also, although on the response I'm passing everything, I could also just come and pass like the just the zip code, just the current weather, just the day low or day high, because all of those are part of my schema. I can have access to very specific items of that output. Those are some of the advantage that local logic apps gives to you. It's similar to you on the code doing result dot weather dot low, right? It gives that information to you available. We close that without saving, so I don't make anything. Let's go and just run that in debug. That logic apps. When I click on logic apps, it shows something really quick. It started the Azure Write component. I didn't have to start it for me. Like this is part of the onboard. If the function is running, yeah. So here I have two endpoints, one for my get accounts, one for my get weather, right? Let's go in and look at how I can access get weather. To my logic apps overview. And here I have like experience similar to what I would have in the program. No, that's okay. So I run and it stops here. because I'm running on debug, I actually have the ability to put breakpoints on the logic apps, but I also attach the functions and then continue running. I use that. Continue running, it's now going to stop on my code. If you're able to do like full debugging inside your logic apps and your custom code, find out exactly what's happening inside. Do F10, right, and then return. It goes back and finish the logic apps execution. Have a second that just run. If I open here, I can see exactly what is being returned. So those are some of the advantages that you have with logic apps in terms of visual thing, right? You create those workflows, and they are doesn't need to be just responsive from an HTTP. It could be a schedule, an event on something else, etc. But you have all that visual both at the runtime, but also during development. Okay. Last thing to show. We go to the and talk super quick about future and how we can do to help us is now that I have all of that running and everything is fine. I wanted to push that to my source control. I wanted to generate my scripts. And then for that, what I can do is simply come to the logic apps, right click, and generate deployment scripts. When I'm doing that, it's going to be connect you to Azure and ask you some information about things that might be deployed there. And the reason for that is I'm writing a script that if you run it straight away, is going to work. You're going to see that everything that I'm adding here goes as a it goes as a parameter. That means that if you're moving from different environments, you can just inject that. But at the same time, you can test the thing directly from here. So I added that to my logic apps PM using that resource group. We're not going to have time to run the proper pipelines because it'll take longer. Okay. Then I'm going to give a logic apps name, and that is going to be Global Demo. My storage account, because it needs a storage account. We store my app service plan, LA ASP. And it goes and generates, connects to the components, grabs all the components that might be in Azure or here, and generates that deployment folder. And inside that deployment folder, you have the Global Azure demo, which was the logic app, the logic apps that you decided. You can run that multiple times with different names to represent different environments. One way to do it. The other way is just change the environment, right? But inside my infrastructure, I have my logic app ARM template with my parameters. I have my common data service, which is one of the connectors that I had in one of those logic apps parameters. And I have out set of pipelines, my infrastructure pipeline that goes and publish all the IAC artifacts, my CI pipeline that builds the logic apps using that build task that we said that is implemented. That's the CD pipeline. My CI pipeline and my CD pipeline is here. And also some parameters that are ready for you. Like in here, we have some parameters that we created, but if you have user parameters, you also wanted to change that across different environments. We go and plug in on that file. So this is some of the improvements that we did on logic apps to make sure that you get started faster. You have the proper way to develop, deploy on environments, and there is a lot more things that are coming, right? So I'll go through that super quick. As I say, we bring in .NET Core 8. We bring in zero downtime deployment. So if you have mission critical applications, as part of that CI/CD deployment, you should be able to also deploy without you having any kind of outage. Working is super early, but we're working on automating testing. So you can actually go through the whole process here of development, testing, and then deploying. After that, we have some other things that we're doing, but I think so, like to your point, GitHub's actions and Terraforms is also on our pipeline, right? We're having meetings this morning about some of those things. And on the automating testing, we wanted to make sure that you support not just codeless, also if you already have a lot of experience in writing X units or things like that, that you are also able to do that. Interested in Logic Apps, if you wanted to know more about or already use it, be part of the community, please join us on the Logic Apps Aviators. Every month we have a live that is, unfortunately for us, is super early. Is usually 11 p.m. Pacific on the last Thursday of every month, apart from December, because no one wants to be on 29th of December awake at 6 a.m. to do that, not even me. And we also have a newsletter with latest, like both from the product group, but also from the community. To write in anything, if you're interested on Logic Apps, and you write a blog, you write an entry on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it is, put the Logic Apps Aviators hashtag, because we throw that, and we find all of those community contributions and add to the monthly newsletter.
Out of the .NET Day on the 1st of May?
No, we're going to have one presentation on the .NET conference. Is going to be Kent Ware, which is the person that wrote this PM for some code showing .NET 8 potentially. So if the deployment codes align.
Also, were you part of the instrumentation as a PM to actually do the automation for those apps?
I'm part of the product group, so that I should be able to, if it's not on my area, we usually work on the developer experience, I should be able to connect to the right people.
Much easier. Well done.
Yeah, Kent was one of the PMs working on that as well.
Thanks.
And with that, I don't think we have a time for Q&A. Let's speed up a little bit.
Thank you. That was awesome. All the speakers are still here, so if you've got some questions. Thank you so much for coming. What we'll be doing next month.
Yeah, Saturday.
Yes. And Marcel put a link in this meetup. Saturday. Luck getting out of here.
Trying to get out.
Take a picture.
My QR code.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. When I get back to the office, will I be able to find
He put the links on the meetup. If you go to the meetup, it will have asked, but there should be. Yeah, I went on to get one of the links from there.
You're a idea, bro.